Hello and welcome to France 24's Tech Show. I'm Julia Seeger. In this edition, we'll introduce you to several young African entrepreneurs who are developing tech for good solutions to spark change in their home countries, inspiring business leaders like Fatima Nasser, the CEO and founder of the Libyan food delivery app Yummy. Plus, as wildfires are increasingly ravaging forests across the planet, we take a look at how thermal cameras, satellites, and machine learning-powered devices could help prevent or contain them. Africa is increasingly taking its place on the global stage as an environment for growth and opportunity. But critical challenges remain, particularly the need to create jobs and education opportunities. But today, a new generation of African entrepreneurs is using technology to bring solutions to the table. The Tech24 team met with some of these fascinating innovators at the Emerging Valley Summit in Aix-en-Provence, southern France. Let's first listen to Shile Tsabalala. After spending 11 years behind bars, he created a coding school to help kids living in townships in his home country of South Africa.
Coming back to that township after spending 11 years in prison and to realize that nothing much has changed, that's when I decided now to do something innovative, something audacious, and teach kids how to code. Because I wanted now to see what is it that was never been done in black townships before. In spite of the fact that we have big problems, big social problems from poverty, high unemployment rate, crime, teenage pregnancy, high school dropout, and also high illiteracy rate, I wanted to bring something that can be able now to compete with those social challenges. And coding for me was the solution.
At this same summit, we also met with a charismatic young lady who is helping spark change in war-shattered Libya, a country that was once one of the wealthiest nations in Africa. But it spiraled into political and economic turmoil following the overthrow of longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi. Meet Fatima Nasser, the founder and CEO of the food delivery app Yummy.
My co-founder and I, Aziza Adam, were in this cybersecurity workshop we were preparing to, and we were hungry. So I was like, imagine if there's an app that would have like traditional cuisines delivered to you. It started kind of as a joke, but then we actually noticed that there's a huge trend of women selling homemade food to get to raise more income, and because cash is not available in Libya anymore.
So tell us more about Yummy.
Basically, it's a platform for women who sell homemade food. For them, it's a marketplace that they can sustain and expand their business from home, because we provide marketing, delivery, mediation between her and the customer, and we get like all the women cooks, one platform for the customers to find. It has a huge demand because 80% or more of Libyans prefer to have homemade food.
What is it like to be an entrepreneur in Libya right now, and even more so as a woman?
Well, considering the situation in Libya, it does not encourage you to do much, but there is a scene that is growing right now, which is the startup scene. More and more people are heading towards building their own social startups instead of being just an activist, because I think they actually felt like there's a tangible change when you implement change throughout entrepreneurship, rather than just being an activist. I think that the startup scene now, because more and more entrepreneurs are like floating to the surface, it's becoming easier for us, because the international communities are all like helping us to ease this. There are a lot of programs like the one we're hearing now. It will be much easier like in the years to come. But we're just setting the basis for entrepreneurship, especially social entrepreneurship in Libya.
And Dan and Jay Katalkar is in the studio to tell us more about other young Libyan entrepreneurs who are injecting change in Libya. Hello and welcome, Dan.
Hello, Julia. Well, Yummy was one of the 3 finalists of the Enzagi startup competition that was held last year, which was supported by the MIT Enterprise Forum Pan-Arab and Tatweer Research Organization. The 2 other startups were Lisan. So it's essentially a combination of a bracelet and an application that helps translate sign languages into speech. So that's aimed at the hearing impaired. And the second application was called Sinbad. So it essentially is a mixture of an application and gaming. It combines both mixed and virtual reality, and its aim is to help young entrepreneurs develop their business skills. Now, looking at all these examples that we have seen from the African countries, I think it's a very important tool for these youngsters to know the core competence of business.
Thank you for that, Dan. We're going to move on now to a whole other topic. As California is facing yet another long and devastating fire season, the state's governor-elect, Gavin Newsom, is hoping to get the jump on fires. His plan is to expand California's high-tech early warning camera system.
That's right, Julia. The plan is to scale this network of infrared cameras from the current 80 to about 600 by 2022. Now, these infrared cameras, they play a vital role in fire prevention and response. Well, there's already a network of such cameras. It's called alertwildfire.org. It's a consortium of 3 universities, University of California, San Diego, University of Nevada, Reno, and University of Oregon. Now, what they do is similar to the other camera networks. These cameras are able to capture the images if there's a fire or if there are warnings of a fire. And these images are then uploaded on the Amazon Web Services server, which is accessible to general public, and people can actually spot if there are indications that a fire has already started or there's it's already spread. And that's how they are able to alert the authorities, and quick response is ensured. That's one part. But other than cameras, there's also deployment of radars on an airplane. So NASA currently, they deployed a radar on an airplane to assess the damage of the fires in California. Secondly, NASA satellites have also been used to again assess the damage caused by these fires. And then there is also the deployment of robots. So there's a company in Waterboro in Maine that has developed a robot called RS-1T3 that is capable of fighting fires directly by throwing foam at a huge amount of foam. It's around 11,300 liters
we can see it here on
of
the
foam per minute. So
Right.
it's an effective and a quick way of dousing fires.
Very well. And there's also 2 students who have developed a device that can play a big role in fire management.
That's right, Julia. Aditya Shah and Sanjana Shah, they have developed a device that measures the intensity of moisture or the content of moisture in dead leaves and branches that have fallen on the ground. Now, this is dead fuel, so the drier the fuel, the more possibility that the fire, if it's ignited elsewhere, it can spread very quickly. So what they have done is they have used Google's open source machine learning tool, TensorFlow, to develop this device. And using this device, they are able to analyze images of the biomass. Normally, you have all the sensors for temperature, for wind, and all these conventional sources. But to have a sensor or an analysis of these dead leaves and branches could be a game changer.
Thank you, Dan. We're going to move on now to Test 24. Anywaves has taken up an important challenge as it now offers ultra-compact and lightweight high-performance antennas for nanosatellites and UAVs. It's set to make nanosatellites much more efficient and much more accessible, Dan.
That's right, Julia. As you can see here, the 3 antennas that are used on this CubeSat, they are completely integrated into the satellite's structure. So that's one advantage. Second, as you mentioned, they are high-performing antennas. So right now, here we have 2 types of antennas. One is the S-band, which is between 2 and 2.3 gigahertz, and there's the X-band, which is between 8 and 8.4 gigahertz. So these 2 S-band antennas, they are used for communication with ground, so to give commands to the satellite, whether it's to orient in a particular direction. And the X-band is used to beam images from the satellite to the mission control here on the Earth. Now, this particular CubeSat, there are rather 3 CubeSats. Because
what is a CubeSat?
Well,
exactly?
A CubeSat, as the name suggests, is a satellite in the shape of a cube,
right,
with the sides measuring only 10 centimeters. So the idea behind the CubeSat is to act as a demonstrator. So it started in 1999 in the University of California for students to demonstrate certain projects.
Wait, it's only a demo. It can't be sent.
No, it can be sent, but it is a miniaturized version because it's inexpensive. I mean, currently the budget of a typical CubeSat is in the range of 1 million euros compared to several hundred millions of euros for a conventional satellite. So if you want to test technology, or if you want to conduct some experiments in an inexpensive way, then this is the best way to do it. And in fact, more and more people are using CubeSats. Is becoming mainstream. Earlier, it used to be just, restricted, not restricted, but it was used only by certain sector, but now it's
Right.
becoming mainstream. So here in this particular CubeSat, which is called ISAT and which is a part of the Janus project, which is also undertaken by the French National Space Agency, CNES. So here we have an infrared camera that will be used to monitor the interstellar dust between the sun and the asteroid belt. Now, there are two reasons. One is to ensure that there are foreground corrections made when you observe deep space objects. So the interstellar dust shouldn't create any errors. And second is to understand the composition of this dust, because it is a part of our solar system. Now, how it operates? Well, the camera takes images, converts it into electrical signal, because there's a CMOS sensor here, which is a complementary metal oxide semiconductor sensor. And this electrical signal is then turned into a radio signal, and it's beamed using this X-band antenna. So that's how this CubeSat functions. And finally, there are these 4 solar panels to power the entire system.
Thank you, Dan. That brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech 24, but do stay with us here on France 24.